Hello and welcome back to OT, the podcast, and welcome back to Australia, Felix. We're here to talk about watches, time and how to spend it. I'm Eddie Green.
Specifically, we're here to talk about how we spend our time in Dubai. I'm Felix Schultz.
Well, one of us has been gallivanting around the globe and one of us has been base camp Barry.
So much gallivanting.
You had a lot of fun. And I feel like you were trying to make me a little bit jealous along the way.
Look, I wasn't, to be honest. I did have fun. It was nice. It was good. Just got back in this morning. I've been here for 6 hours now. I don't know what time it's meant to be. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what day it is.
Well, we're going to talk about your trip. I'm going to fire away questions and live vicariously through you. But how long were you gone for?
Just over a week, like a week and if without time difference, it would have been exactly a week. It is a watch week after all, Andy. This has got to be. It's very important.
You don't get any padding either side of the week.
Well, the padding was the plane.
The padding was the plane. How long was the flight?
This was a good thing. I got asked this question a lot because, Australia, so far away. That was my, American-French accent. Mm-hmm. It was about like 14 hours one way, 12, 13 the other way, just because of wind. But the good thing was everyone's in the same boat. Like America was similar distance and, Europe had to come to Dubai. So in many ways, culturally, geographically and spiritually, Dubai is the center of the world.
A good meeting point and a good place.
Financially, we should add.
What was the vibe? So Dubai, hot place, famously warm.
Yes, quite hot. Felix was hot.
Yeah, I bet. There was some rain?
We'll get to the rain.
Okay.
Top level Dubai. It's a weird place. Like it's. So we were staying in a very fancy hotel, courtesy of Dubai Watch Week. By the way, they flew us there. They invited us there. It was all sort of put on. So objectivity. Staying in a very fancy hotel. One side of it, the other side that I did not have a view of was the Burj and buildings and. A 21st century city. The other side that I was sort of looking at was a few old, 60s era buildings and desert. So it's wild. Just like it's nothing and then it's everything. I'm sure there's more to it. Like I'm sure, there's local areas and different things, but this was sort of the financial district of Dubai, and then it was not too much at all.
Well, I mean, it's a desert after all, so there's limited recreational activities. Okay, so it's a full week. What is the structure like? Can you book meetings? Can you book appointments? Do you have any free time?
Before that, I do want to talk about two things. I knew the Middle East was a sort of fairly affluent place. Mm-hmm. I was not expecting it, Andy.
Yeah, I did see you put up an Instagram story and it was like a Lamborghini, like, oh, the valet is crazy. And there was like 2 supercars. And I didn't message you, but I thought, Felix, you're in Dubai. Like that's a high school kid's car.
Yeah. By about day 2, no, it wasn't the Lamborghini I was interested in. It was the Rolls that was next to it. If I wasn't interested in a Mercedes, if it wasn't an AMG, I wasn't interested. G-Wagon, boring, unless it's Brabus. Like the hecticness. I don't know cars, but one of the other journalists was like, the number plates is the game as well. Like there's the whole, 1-digit sort of.
Yeah.
And the watches as well. So we'll talk about the structure of Dubai Watch Week which we will now refer to as DWW or whatever else, because saying Dubai Watch Week repeatedly is not great.
So breaking news: Dubai is a very wealthy area.
I have never, not even in Switzerland, not even in Geneva, not even at the front of the Patek booth on the Patek party night of the Patekiness, seen the rarity and exclusiveness of these watches. Richemille Ultra Thin, like the new one.
I love that you're surprised. You haven't watched enough Dubai-based reality TV.
No. It's not something I've ever dug into. But fully set. The Chamath from Watch Advice was saying he saw. I think it was him saying he saw 2 people with like the fully set Jeans meeting each other for the first time.
Yeah. So it's a whole different world. I mean, there's pages dedicated to abandoned supercars where people just pull up somewhere and then they just park it, or it gets towed, or
anyone wearing Royal Oaks were like G-Shocks, Andy. It was,
Yep.
Phenomenal.
It's a complicated place with a complicated way of making money. All right, tell me about the structure of Dubai Watch Week.
Physically, the structure on day one was great. Day two needed some work, but so it's like one long hall in the middle. It's a permanent, pretty like semi-permanent building, and that's sort of where the majority of the brands are. Everyone, like the biggest brands there would be like Breitling, Tag Heuer, Grand Seiko. They had like a little sort of 6 meter long, booth. Some of the smaller brands would maybe share two to a length, and then there'd be even smaller ones in the middle. Where it was just like it's like a conference stand, like an expo, but
sure.
Mostly it was independents. Mostly it was everyone from FP Jean to Jacob & Co to Louis Vuitton had some space through to ID Genève, Ming. Simon Brett was there, Ressence, all the who's who of independent watchmaking, all conveniently stocked by Ahmed Siddiqui, was there. And it was the vibe for me, and this is I talked about in an interview with someone, this is potentially a bit too much of a deep cut for people listening, was the Palace at Basel World, which was and Andy's shaking his head going, you wanker.
How could you?
Which was where like all those cool indie brands hung out. It was like outside of like, it sort of had that, well, we're the counterculture, we're not Rolex vibe.
Basel adjacent.
And it's where all the cool kids at Basel hung out. I didn't hang out there.
Did you get a photo with Max Buser?
I tried. I wanted to recreate that meme photo, but the moment never came up. But sorry, outside. So outside that is an open air sort of like circle essentially, and there you've got your more traditional high end luxury booth, like Rolex, AP. The big brands sort of have like a little booth. It was, and it was out in the open, which is a different feel as well. Like you could, because security wasn't an issue. It was a al fresco affair.
Al fresco.
And then they had like little conference halls and like a sort of theatre where they had tech lectures and talks and all sorts of other bits and pieces.
What happened with the rain?
Yeah, so first day, I heard someone go, "Oh, there might be some rain tomorrow." Then apparently I was asleep at 4 a.m. It was like sheets, like people's hotel rooms were sort of flooded a bit, and lightning, thunderstorm, and essentially, because it's a temporary structure, and because Dubai has not apparently invested particularly much in plumbing, it caused some severe damage. So from 4 a.m, it was very wet. We got a little thing, on Instagram at about 8 a.m. saying, "Oh, fair's been closed." I told some people, they thought I was joking. I wasn't. But by 2 in the afternoon or whatever, it was back open, and honestly, it was a pretty minimal disruption. Like, I do not want to know what they did or how much money they spent hiring every single vacuum cleaner in Dubai to suck the water out of the carpets, because
just the full wet vac experience. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so that was a little disruption, I imagine.
Apparently Dubai gets 25 days of rain a year. And also apparently they do cloud seeding, which people are like, "Oh, it's a cloud seeding."
What is cloud seeding?
Like making clouds.
If you're rich enough, you can just make some clouds.
I mean, like controlling the weather. This is where we're at, Andy.
Cloud seeding is a weather modification technique that improves the cloud ability to produce rain or snow by introducing tiny ice nuclei into certain types of sub-freezing clouds. Right, so they fly above the clouds, and that is, there you go. Wish I didn't know that, but now you all know it too. Okay, so interesting group of brands, a lot of independents, but then there's some other sort of bigger name brands as well that hang out there. I'm going to ask you some questions about your trip though.
Go for it.
What was your favourite new release?
The one I was most impressed by was still in a prototype was the Ming LW01.
Okay, so you're in on Ming.
Ming. Yes, yeah, I really liked it, because it's cool and it's sort of not the sort of thing you'd expect a brand like Ming to do. Basically, they think they've created the lightest watch in the world, the lightest mechanical watch.
How light is it?
Hand wound on strap is 10.6 grams.
I mean, that is quite
A couple
light.
of pieces of paper, apparently.
A couple of sheets.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
And on without the strap, it's like an 8, and it's made of a magnesium alloy. The architecture is very interesting. They've made it still with like an ETA movement, and it's just really impressive that a brand like Ming, which is, they've been around, like they've been what, 10 years.
Sort of not what they're known for either.
Well, they sort of like, I attended the presentation, like where they sort of presented the novelty, and then afterwards I chatted to Ming, the man, not the brand, and he was like, we had like this thing of like, well, we can't make the thinnest watch because that's very complicated. We can't make the most complicated watch. They wanted to like do a thing, like make the most of one. And they settled on lightest and achieved it.
Maybe we could make the heaviest.
Well, they thought about that, but then they thought it was sort of stupid and pointless. My main thing, though, was so magnesium, I don't know if you remember in school, is flammable.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I interviewed him. I asked him about that. Apparently, we don't need to worry about it. But,
Okay.
If we're on a loan, we couldn't set fire to our watch as a fire starter.
We've got to catch up on that separately. Okay, so there was a bunch of presentations. What was your favourite talk?
Excuse me for a second.
You're excused.
I'm back. There's two. I'll answer this in two parts. There's one that I'm halfway through watching on YouTube because I stupidly didn't go to it.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my favourite talk, but I've run into like 5 or 6 people separately saying this was the greatest talk about watches I've ever seen. People I know, hardened, jaded watch journalists cried. It said it reawakened their love of horology. This was a talk by Steve McDonnell, Irish watchmaker, who famously worked on MB&F's Evo.
Yep.
Super complicated chronograph. And he talked about, his sort of pursuit of perfection, his the idea of aesthetics, and the impact of watchmaking on his mental health. Really apparently quite profound. I will definitely link it up in the show notes. That was great so far. The ones I've actually seen and can comment on in a more substantive way, there were a few that I liked. One of them was an early one called The Retailer Quick Step.
Okay.
It was a snazzy title, which was a discussion between a few people, significantly the chief commercial officer of Siddiqui, Mohammed Siddiqui, who a few years ago was very frank, at a similar sort of talk saying, you're not going to get your watch, which people was maybe kind of, at the time, kind of shocking for a retailer to just say, it's not going to happen. Not everyone that wants a Nautilus is going to get one.
It's not how this works. Okay.
Yeah, that was really good. Recommend that. Another one I liked was, and this was a kind of cool thing because it wasn't planned, because it was a discussion between Philippe Dufour, Waco, and Daniela Dufour, Philippe's daughter. That wasn't planned. That wasn't on the schedule initially, but it was meant to be a discussion with, I think, Danielle Dufour and Jean Arnaud, but Jean Arnaud had to, go attend to business. So we got a lovely sort of look into how Daniela Dufour is, sort of, it seems like stepping up to take over the reins from her father, and that was interesting. And also all on YouTube. So I'll put some links in the show notes.
We need to get Danielle on for a chat.
Maybe.
Speaking of
actually,
chats,
that was another thing. Got a good few chats, and also found a few people that I want to chat to and that we will chat to. Like ID Genève,
Yeah.
The guys that recently raised money with
We were just
Leonardo
talking about
DiCaprio.
them.
Yeah. We were talking about them. I went to their sort of presentation on, sustainable steel and stuff. Interesting guys. Really.
Legit. Checks out.
I don't know. I mean, I never know with sustainability, but they seem serious about it and they seem cool.
Nice. All right. What was your favorite hang? Favorite catch up?
It was really good, actually. It was really the big thing for me, and this is an indirect answer to your question. I went into it, and I know a lot of other sort of people that hadn't been to a Dubai Watch Week before went into it for going, okay, this is going to be like Basel. I need to fill my day in 20-minute increments. And that wasn't really possible. Or maybe it was, but it wasn't needed. The structure of it was so that you could. It was so small. Like there was 100 media there, and other people, and the public. But like you go, I want to chat to, I want to see FP Jean. They're busy. I'll come back half an hour later, and they'll be less busy, and I'll talk to someone there, and I'll see some watches. That's not hard. You can see some watches. Having said that, Chanel didn't let me in their booth because they're snooty, but and I was sweaty.
Sweaty. Okay.
But he was very open, and that was sort of, it allowed for casual conversations and discovery in a way that I have not experienced in watchmaking for a long time. I hung out with the UK team a lot, met some new people there, and I hung out with the Americans a fair bit, met some new people there.
Your Revolution brethren were there?
They were there. They were a multi-group team, and they've got some new contributors from the Middle East, including Wrong Wrist on Instagram, Omar, who is lovely. He's a really nice guy. In fact, they're all lovely people. I shouldn't, be surprised by this. But yeah, they were sort of, a lot of the time running their own show, and I helped out where I could. But
amazing. What about media-wise? Like any good catch-ups? Anyone you caught up with that was particularly of note?
Yes. I spent some quality time with James Stacey talking about heat.
Maybe. Which he watched on his flight home. He definitely, that was his Instagram story.
Look, that was a late night, and I don't know if everyone around us necessarily wanted to hear us talking about heat. We tried to keep it to ourselves. But then people were like, why is heat so cool? And
that was when you were drunk texting me, just really rubbing in the fact that
I wasn't drunk texting.
You were drunk texting me. You were white girl wasted.
That was a late night. That ended up, funnily enough, here's an example of Dubai. Went to a third location, which is never a good idea. Ended up at that location with Harris from MBNF.
Okay.
Stephen McDonnell, of aforementioned watchmaking fame. Roger Smith was there, obviously, and a bunch of other people.
Look at you. We don't need to know what the venue was. We can move on. All right.
The only place that was open at that time of the morning.
Whatever you tell your partner. Okay, so you caught up with a few people. You recorded some chats. What can we look forward to over the coming weeks? Oh,
this was another great chat that we got. I had to put an interview request with Pierre Beaver, the son of Jean-Claude Beaver, to sort of, speak about Beaver watches.
Yep.
He was unwell on the day that I saw the PR person there, who's very lovely. She sort of came up and said, I've got some potentially bad news. Pierre's sick. I'm like, I have to reschedule. But then emerging from the wilderness, like an aged mountain lion, Jean-Claude Beaver himself. So I just had a lovely chat with Jean-Claude.
He snared JCB.
He was in fine form.
As usual.
I'm slightly worried about the audio quality because there was a lot of yelling and vigorous mic moving around. And I didn't feel like I'd be like, hey, Beaver, bring it in.
Calm it down. All right. Well,
we'll find out.
That's my problem anyway.
A couple of other chatted to Essence, chatted to the guy from Luira, chatted to Ming Tian. That's a great chat. And maybe one or two others that I can't recall right now.
Well, enough to milk for the rest of the year. I want to ask you, and that's a lot of great chats to look forward to. I want to ask you about The watch I'm most curious about, I first saw it in the metal earlier this year, the Moser Streamliner, Moser Streamliner. They've come out with a smaller.
Yep. Oh, did you see it when
small
it was in
seconds.
Melbourne?
No, I didn't get to see it yet. I already kind of liked the size of the Streamliner, but now that there's a smaller one, I'm kind of intrigued. Yeah, and a lot of people that I know don't really love Moser are like, wow, this watch is amazing. It's the watch
exponentially better.
The Fair. It's the bracelet's awesome. I think I said it at the time, but it's got an awesome bracelet. Like, it's actually impressive for a new bracelet. So it's exponentially better. Why?
I just think the size makes such a difference. It feels so much more wearable.
Yeah, right.
Actually, having said that, I didn't put it on because the bracelet was not sized for the old hooks.
Yeah.
But you just, I've got some shots. I may have put them up. I probably didn't though. Of social media, Andy laughs. Of two models next to each other. It's good. It's got a very nice, that sort of fume enamel dial that they've been doing a lot of recently. It's a new movement as well, and it's a slimmer, smaller movement, which I think is a big change because I think it's a HMC 200 they used a lot. It was quite a beast. Boy. It was made in, for the early 2000s.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's an interesting watch. I think it's far more exciting than like the Odysseus or any other sort of steel integrated watches.
Do you know what other thing I find fascinating? Moser's not a small company. They've got like 130 employees, apparently. They're investing in things. They own a stake in Argenor.
Yeah.
Because they want to ensure that they have supply of chronographs. Like they're doing that. And there was another good chat actually where they talked about, it was the very last chat of the week, where they talk about like corporate buyouts in watchmaking. And they got Edouard Malon talking about, why they haven't, and, other people who have sort of like one of the guys who's bought into Zapec, and, someone that was briefly the CEO of Rouge, but, like about that side of it, like the pros and cons and why you take money and all that
why you don't. Well, I think they brought the money when they brought it back to life.
But I think there would have been they would have maybe had some offers or some opportunities, but they've they seem to be.
I think they're doing like 3,000 watches a year.
But also they do, I think they sell a lot of their hairsprings.
Yeah. I mean, 3,000 watches is a lot of watches at a 50,000 Swiss franc price point. Yeah. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of pesos.
Even more dirhams.
It's a lot of dirhams. Well, that's amazing, Felix.
Thanks,
it's good to catch up. Welcome home. I'm excited to hear some of these chats, and I'm excited for you to come do a few photo dumps. You were live in our Discord during the
Do you know what the problem was? This is
you're going to blame access to social media or something.
No, I had two phones. Like I took the Apple iPhone with me as well, and I kind of like, You'll
get there. But you were in our Discord. You were giving people real time reports, real time chats, and just added value add. So if you haven't joined already, join our Discord.
Sure.
It was great, especially for moments like these and kind of discussing things. A lot of Cartier curiosity in there at the moment as well. It's my new phrase, Cartier curious.
Yeah.
It's kind of sweeping through our Discord. I was in Brisbane and I went into the Cartier boutique there because I just feel like you have to, and put on the manual line.
What'd you see?
Well, they had the must, the black lacquer dial must, bit small in the end, but they had an XL Santos Dumont, which I'm just weak for.
Yeah,
manual wind.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you need to branch out from Rolex.
Oh, I absolutely need a Cartier. Absolutely. It's just, it's a matter of when, not if.
I got a question for you. I know you got to go. What, from your view from afar, what was the most interesting thing about Dubai Watch Week for you?
That you enjoyed yourself.
Not the only person, like, and obviously I won't say who, but like other journalists were like, this is good.
Well, when you talk about Basel's like just traumatic, like 20-minute intervals, no time, no food, 12, 14-hour days, just a constant grind. This seemed like a bit. You were having fun. It was good. Seemed like a good crew there.
Yeah, and I think for me, like professionally as well, like really useful to network, and that's like one of the sort of stated aims of it. And sure, it helps the the Siddiqui name and brand recognition and all that. It makes them more influential, as if they're not influential enough. But yeah, it was really good.
We help where we can. Otherwise, I think the releases were pretty good. I think the brands there, I was kind of a bit like, these aren't brands that I'm super, super caring about at the moment, but they made me care. Like they turned up. I mean, Chopard, their releases actually, the Alpine Eagle Summit.
The gem set ones?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that looks sick.
Yeah, there's the sapphires, they've got the white gold, and they've got the...
Oh, it's also this is an interesting thing. So the releases are divided up. Like there's global launches that happen there, like the Moser Streamliner and the HM11 from MB&F, which is very impressive and very expensive. And there's also like regional specific ones that are quite cool too, and they've typically got green dials and Hindu-Arabic numerals. But yeah, that's I think there's like 20 watches released all up.
Yeah, not many.
It's kind of also a lot for late in the game. And some genuinely cool stuff.
Well, from the brands though, so it's not an overwhelming. Like you're not going to miss heaps of stuff. There or from afar. Whereas Basel was just you'd be lucky to see 10%.
Yeah, and I think the brands like I can't remember who I spoke that it's not commercial, and they said they didn't feel that pressure of like the retailer's going over there, like which obviously is a concern of. Yeah, from that point of view. So,
well, I mean, it's a retailer hosting it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just impressed with the late November release. Even the Spig Marine ripples, sort of with the green, metallic green.
Very muted, very minty, little pistachio boy.
It was sort of is less more. Maybe that's my question. Less is more, and maybe spacing things out and having breathing room, which, to be fair, is a bit of a pre-pandemic situation and what we sort of had before all of that. Anyway, Felix, as you said,
you got to go. You got to run some errands, I believe.
We got to run some errands. We've got other things to do. I'm sure we'll find someone who's put a list together of all of those 20 releases. There's things from you listener in. Oris had a nice Pro Pilot.
Oris is kind of cool.
The Oris is kind of cool. What else? What else was there?
There's a one I haven't showed you, and we're going to have to talk about it with one of the parties involved. We'll have to get them on.
Okay.
Coming out. It's very cool. I'll send you some private messages.
Okay. All right. There's Doxer. There's Fred Constant. There's a bit. But I mean, my pick's probably the Streamliner, and the Alpine Eagle is slowly winning me over. It's wearing me down.
It does that, doesn't it?
A stone, a lake just getting softened. My hard edges are getting softened by the, especially
much like the precious metal case.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Chopard, Alpine Eagle. Someone buy me one. All right, Felix. The usual nonsense. We have a lot of exciting things coming up, so make sure you subscribe and you don't miss out. Join our Discord. We will link that up. Social media is ot.podcast or otthepodcast@gmail.com. We've got a new sponsor. We've got an exciting new sponsor coming next week. So they haven't sponsored this episode, so they miss out. But we'll be back shilling a watch brand that we've not shilled before, which is always good because Christmas is around the corner.
New shillings.
New shills to be shilled. Felix, good to catch up. Good to see you.
I'm going to have a nap.
Enjoy.